Hey everyone, I want to get to this for generating images using DALL-E 3. The point is, what if you don't have images? Or what if you're doing an industry where using real images isn't really preferable because it would be too graphic or gross, and you want to illustrate without downright showing, right? Slip and fall accidents. You don't want to show guys with gory broken bones and blood everywhere, right? Car accident attorneys, people going through withdrawal, coming off of being high or something, and you're trying to get them in a rehab center, anything like that. So you want to use images that depict, they tell the story, we can agree and associate with them, but they don't look like somebody, and they certainly don't look gory. Okay, so here we go. You got your website, right? That's kind of the idea. So I got this nice website all lined up. And so I made some inner pages. And like I said, like I will say, I'm choosing this website right now because it has almost no pages on it yet. So that way, because DALL-E takes a while to run, normally I would set this up to run on like 100 websites times 100 web pages each. And I'd set up like 100 instances to run in parallel and then walk away and let it go on all night. Come back in the morning, it's all done. So here's the thing, I got these really long blocks of text, right? And I need to break this stuff up with some images, but I don't have any images. Let's pretend I don't have any because it's one of those industries I was just talking about, or whatever, who cares? The fact of the matter is I need images, and let's say I don't have any. Well, okay, before I say I don't have any, I just want to make this other point real quick, okay? We're going to put an image in a page to remind you kind of what it's like when you have to do it manually. You log into an admin panel, you go to your page where you're going to edit it, right? And you're going to scroll down somewhere to where maybe you want to put it right at the top, right there. Like, let's get an image going right here. Okay, I can do that. So I'm gonna put my cursor about where I want the image. Then hit this whole browse images, right? Now I gotta go browse the server unless I'm gonna upload an image. Let's say I browse the server. Let's say I got some images on there I made and uploaded earlier. So that might be one of these. So let's just say that's what I was after. Okay, now sometimes these things are the wrong size and so you have to constrain them by typing in new numbers here. And you've got to line it like left or right. Let's say right in this case. To get on the right instead of the left, okay? Otherwise, it'll just move the wording over and fit in nicely over here. But usually when you first start reading a page, you want to read words before an image, right? You want to read the words and then the image is that thing you're associating the words with. Speaking of which, you would want to do alternative text. Don't ignore this stuff. This is important for SEO, and you might say, what am I going to use for it? And it might be something like, well, this is where we're putting it, this section. So, welcome to the revolution of security, Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this manually again. I haven't done this like that in a very long time. And I would never go back intentionally. So, assuming I got it placed nicely in the right place, and it looks pretty good to me, then I might come on down and update. Then what do I have to do? I would regenerate the pages if I need to, and then I take a look at the page, and let's take a look at it. All right, it's pretty cool. I might increase some V space and horizontal space, especially some horizontal spacing. See how the lettering is too close to the image, right? So I go back, and this is just where you're learning how to do this stuff, right? And you're thinking, man, I should make it like 15 pixels to one side, and yeah, that ain't bad. And then you're gonna save that. You're gonna generate the HTML. Oh my God. Okay, well, anyway, it got it. Now it looks good, right? Okay, well, this is going to take a while to do, isn't it? Because now you're going to come down to the next section maybe, and you're going to get the image aligned to the left with some spacing. Then you're going to come down to the next section. Okay, let me show you how we do this automatically, because if you had 100 web pages and you try to do this by hand, that's how everyone does this. Okay? I don't know too many people who have automation tools for placing images appropriately throughout pages that are based on the page. That's the other part. We're going to generate with DALL-E 3, and in so doing, we're going to actually make images that are intended, okay? At least as far as Google's concerned, hopefully as far as humans are concerned, to jive with the page instead of jar with the page. The whole point there being, we want the images to actually know what they're supposed to be all about. So that as readers are reading, and readers start off reading something like this, there's your H1 tag, right, what the whole page is about. And then out of that outline format, you know, this would be the intro. It's like section number 1. It's a subsection of this. It's section number 1 of this. And then there's going to be a section 2. And then there's going to be a section 3. Okay. And we might want to put our images one per section, right? So that people can mentally cope with it as they keep reading. We obviously don't want to put one for every subsection. Can you imagine how weird that would be? How hard it would be to read the page with everything broken up? But let's do this right. So we are going to go to where we can generate DALL-E images. Let's make sure I'm still there. All right, so what is this website? It's this. Okay. There. Now, H2 gap is a very simple concept that we came up with. We said some of our pages are short, some are long, some have a couple of sections, some have a real lot of sections. When we generate images, it costs a little bit of money per image, but the question is, how many images do you want per page? Do you want as many as there are H2s? Or do you want to jump every next H2? You know, something like that. That's called an H2 gap. Okay? An H2 gap of 2 would jump 2 H2s and go to the next one. Okay? So there'd only be one image every 3 of these H2s. H2 means header 2, meaning, right? If this is header 1, which is the top header of the page, this is a header 2 because it's the style of the next kind of header down. This is a header 3, right? Because it's a subsection of this 2, which is a subsection of the 1 that rules the page. Okay, I guess you got that. Yeah, most of you probably know it already. And if you don't, it's a worthwhile thing to learn. Okay, what kind of images do we want? That's just it. What do we think? Do we want digital art? Do we want cyberpunk? Do we want 1950s or 70s cartoon or comic? You know, do we want pencil sketch? Do we want colorized pencil sketch? Do we want oil and pastel? There's literally, do we want photorealistic? You could put in a certain kind of camera, like a Kodak or a Canon, a certain kind of lens. You can literally go for photorealistic with a certain kind of lens. And you can also add stuff like, don't add letters or words. Now, it's not always perfect about that because it doesn't really recognize letters and words anyway when it sees images. It's all just color, shape. But whatever. So new or overwrite, okay? Yeah, I mean, there might be touch-up in the end that you would do on some of these depending on what you're making. But who cares? And as a matter of fact, how many of you guys have started to notice that on websites? That people have really cool images, but sometimes there is some wording and it's misspelled, but it's so esoteric or aesthetic or just, you know, mirage-worthy or, you know, just set you off, inspiring, that you don't really care if it's misspelled or not. It's like, oh, I know what they mean. And so that's a new trend happening these days. All right, so here we go. Now, I could put a lot of domains in here, right? So let's do that. And it's going to be new, obviously, because we're not overwriting any images. So, yeah, I think I got that right. Now, you're not going to see the images appear right away just because I try refreshing the pages, because guess what I got to do? I got to generate the HTML, which we also build as a tool in our system so that we can always just do that from the outside for a bunch of sites at the same time. I could have 100, 400 websites in here and just do it all at once from out here. I don't have to log into every single admin panel any more than I have to log into the admin panel to place every single image. I actually don't need to do anything. Think of it as a two-step. I set all of my websites to start generating images, right? And while I do that, I walk off. I do other things. Then I come back to see if the job got done. And when it got done, I've got one last thing to do. That's to have all my domains in here and run this puppy. Oh, and it's taking time to load because it can't refresh it while the pages are being amended. So it'll take time, to get through these pages. But like I said, there aren't too many of these pages in the sitemap. I'm actually not sure even what the order is. So, yeah, the wonderful thing is that this isn't really going to take long. Let me go ahead and pause it, and we'll take a look at it as it comes out. Oh, actually, while I'm doing that, I do want to explain 3 things about the images that are really, really cool. The first is this. The images are based on H2 tags, not H1. We're not going to put an image up here that's just bizarre. The first image on the page usually looks good here on the upper right. So that's what we have the images do. Then the next one looks good on the left. That way they're not always on the right, going down. That's not balanced, right? When you read, you want some pattern disrupts. So the next one's better on the left with the wording pushed to the right. Then what? Then we put one in the middle above the H2, okay? And then we go back to our flow. Right on this side, left on that, in the middle, right? So if we have an H2 gap of 0, that means we're not skipping any. Then you count the H2s on the page. There's the 1, 2, a 3, 4, 5, and a 6. So we're going to have 6 images on this particular page. Okay, now the point I want to make about the images is cool. When we thought, what are our images supposed to be about? Do you remember that when we were running this thing, we could say digital art or whatever, but we didn't have any backstory. I mean, how does DALL-E know what to make? Well, it must be following some rules we gave it, and that's true. So the rule is this. Read the H2 tag, okay? That'll give you a clue. Welcome to this whole thing we're doing with plastic cards. Your trusted partner in plastic card printing. Okay. Hey, that's cool. That gives me an idea. But what if it just said features and benefits? I mean, why not, right? Some of these may not talk about plastic cards at all. Look at this. The heart of our operation, a focus on customer satisfaction. Yeah, but that doesn't say anything about plastic cards. So what's it going to show? Doctors examining patients and giving them a hug? Customer satisfaction, right? So how's it supposed to have a clue what the H2 tag means necessarily? And the answer is we never just use the H2 tag. Every time it goes to create an image, it has 2 bits of information. The first is the H2 tag, but it also has that in context with the H1 tag. So it realizes that this is the general purpose of the page and that this is specifically the idea for which the image is being made. That way, when it comes down, the heart of our operation, a focus on customer satisfaction, the ultimate guide about plastic card ID solutions and options. There should be an ampersand in there or something. I'll deal with that later. Do you get the idea? So it doesn't mean every image is going to be perfect, but what it does mean is our hit rate is going to be maximum. It's going to be just as good as it can be, right? Okay, there's another thing about it. Let me see if any of them are showing up. Look at that. Welcome to Plastic Card ID, your trusted partner in plastic card printing. I'm going to open it in a new tab because I know it's going to be big. And that's okay because one of our tools is to pull that down, to resize the image so that we're not wasting space. So no letters, no words. I like that. And aside from that, it's the partnership. It's kind of a welcome thing. It looks all businessy one way or the other. Okay. Hey, that's kind of cool, isn't it? I don't exactly see plastic card, but I do get the idea of welcome to what we're doing here, right? We're your trusted partner in this. That looks pretty cool to me. I'm fine with that. Now, there's another one. Little tiny misspelling here, but let me open this one. Delving deeper. What plastic card ID brings to the table? Oh, ooh, nice. See, again, esoteric and stuff, but it's not boring, right? These images are fun to see on the page. They are not boring. They add to the user experience, and they might just keep the reader hanging out a little bit longer on the page because they're not boring, right? Now, I don't mind the misspelling. I think this is an awesome image. And it brings up the idea of looking closer at what plastic cards do, and you're just getting the experience now because you haven't read the book yet, kind of thing. The ultimate plastic card. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like it. So what's the other thing I want to point out about these images, by the way? First, you notice this one showed up on the right, then 0 H2 gap, so the next one's right away at the next H2, showed up on the left. What about this one? The heart of our operation, right? A focus on customer satisfaction. Okay. And yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be business people. I was talking about doctors for a second. I almost saw doctors here, but no, I see a lot of business. I see what almost look like heart on a card kind of thing, right? And that's kind of cool because there's a myriad of business says where plastic cards can apply, sort of. But that's fine by me. And a shopping cart, isn't that cool? Let me see. There's this. What's that one say? Unleashing the power of plastic cards in your business. This is almost great, like a microchip concept, but it isn't, right? I mean, I love how cool this is. This is the idea of the power of plastic cards and stuff, and key badges and little fob readers and things like that. I think it's cool, right? So there's that point, right? Sometimes this makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. You might not like digital art. Maybe you wanted photorealistic. Maybe you wanted colorized pencil sketch. Maybe you wanted oil and pastel. Just depends on the project that you're doing, right? But I, for one, am finding this a lot of fun. I mean, it's kind of weird, but by now I quit reading. I mean, I wasn't reading anyway. I'm just sort of enjoying the images as I go down. Embracing the future, sustainable practices. Fine. We're just a phone call away. That's kind of cool. Kind of a wild one. But hey, you know what? I don't mind. This could be any company name, as far as I know. That's cool, All right, so having said that, what's my other point? My point is this. If I right-click and I hit inspect, it has an alt attached to it. Remember when I said you've got to get the alt in there somewhere, and it's probably good if it's the H2? It created that all by itself. I don't have to go and do it. What about this one? There it is. And the alt. Delving deeper, what Plastic Card ID brings to the table is delving deeper, what Plastic Card ID brings to the table. No two alt tags the same. The images jive with the H2s, which jive with the H1, and Google sees that. The whole page makes sense, and Google's cool with the fact that we're deciding that this image goes with this because we're flat out telling Google it does. And Google's okay with that. Google's not going to judge our art, right? Look at that. So how long would this take to do manually? First, you had to get the images, right? But even aside from getting the images, which you don't have to do in this case, what do we got here? Actually, what do we got even with this bit about, what was I saying? Which page was I on? Maybe it was this page, actually. Where, the heart of our operation focus on customer satisfaction. Okay. I'm looking for one where where it doesn't really tell you what it is in the H2. Look at that, man. How's that for neat? Just neat. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Now I want to get some cards. I'm not kidding. I think this is neat, Oh, this is so cool, right? So, I mean, I'm not even trying to sell it. I think it sells itself because I think it's really fun. And the fact that the images can do themselves into your pages for you, for the few cents it costs per image, adds to the value of the web page so dramatically, right? Any of these not say anything about Plastic Card ID? No? All right. It would have just been more helpful to see more of that, but it's okay. Yeah. So having said that, I'm sure you get the idea. And yeah, I mean, images are pretty esoteric anyway. If 4 out of 5 are specific matches to the page because you said so, but all 5 are using their appropriate alt code and they're neatly fitted into the page, then yeah, I mean, Google has zero issue with that. I didn't have to set distance because it's keeping enough. I didn't have to set height or width distance for the wording. I didn't have to do anything. I mean, they're all good, man. Only thing I might do is a resize, if I'm being picky-unish, to bring it down to some degree, simply so I don't have to, or I'm not, taking up space on the server or extra loading time for the page, but they're WEVP images. I just want to point out that we do have that, though. Resize images, put in the whole domains and give like a max width that you're willing to go with and a max height that you're willing to go with and hit submit. And it'll resize and it'll maintain your aspect ratio. It'll come down to your level. How's that? So, yeah, I mean, we take care of all the work when we're doing these projects for our clients. And whether you're using our tools yourselves or you're having us do jobs for you, right? We can run all this stuff on our own, complete with everything. The stuff we've been talking about, sidebars, internal links, external links, authority external links, cross links to partner sites, non-reciprocal even, and deep level tiered cross-linking up through the deeper pages of different sites. Everything. And we're creating all these pages with the right kind of topical authority, and we're minimizing niche gaps, no overlapping topics. We're using everything, perplexity, creativity, and burstiness when writing the pages. We choose different tones, whether it's professional and engaging or professional and creative, or if it's informal and engaging, informal and creative, that kind of thing, so that we can have different pages with different tones, and therefore from our tracking, see what's working best with users in our industry for our purposes. That way we can go back and refit everything else to follow in the same manner. As we continue to expand, we choose our manners and continue, right? Okay, hope you find this stuff interesting. If ever you want to get into any of the stuff that we're doing or have us do it, reach out to me, especially if you don't know what you're doing yet. You're like, I got a clue what I'm doing, but I don't know if it's the right time or the right way. I've had guys say, we're doing SEO, and then we're thinking about using you for backlinks. And they'll say, do we have to get all our SEO done first? There's questions and answers to be had in there. It depends. Then there's the opposite. There's, hey, we're trying to market, but we haven't done any SEO. Can you help us with our SEO? Or how would you add to the marketing or start to eventually, like, what if our short-term marketing can be replaced with your longer term? What's that mean? What's that look like? How do we do it, within our budget and within our time frame, that kind of thing, right? And so we're really at a point where we have all these options. So if you go to website-installer.com, I mean, we got tons and tons of templates. You can just kind of like look at all these, hover over anything, and you can see the live demo of it. Just get an idea what it looks like when it loads, right? That way you understand what these are like. These we reserve for YouTube videos and stuff. So we just have a tremendous number of variations. This is why you see what look like the same idea. It's because it's, so many are dummy, but then some of these link to real sites anyway, just so you can see them in action. But having said that, we got them up just so you can see what these templates are like. Obviously, any template can fit for any industry, for any purpose. So you pick what just looks and feels like a good arrangement of the content on the front page to you. Do you want it to be less content or more? Do you want more or less stuff happening there? Okay. How do you want that front page to act? Okay. And so how do you want the rest of the site to act while we're at it? Okay. So you just kind of look and see what you think, and then let us know, okay? Don't choose because of the image that you see. Obviously, we'll replace images, we replace color schemes. All the colors are replaceable, the images are replaceable. Things can be flipped on or off. We can do 4 on one line or 3 on one line of, whatever the sections are. So if you've got 6, we can do 2 layers of 3, that kind of thing, right? So don't let that be what guides you so much as just thinking, how does the information first hit people when they land on the front page, right? What are they going to see? What do I want them to see? How do I want them to understand it? And that's what you're picking from, okay? Accident attorney, right? We don't want to see a slip and fall that's gory, right? We want to see the idea without seeing the damage, right? So that's just the kind of thing where I'm explaining all this stuff. Okay, I think I made all this clear. Now, with Website Installer, if you go there, website-installer.com, hit Professional Services, and that is where we have all these different options that range from cheap, okay, like $100 a month, all the way up to $2,500 a month for standard packages here, or $25K a year, you save $5,000 because you get 2 months free. It's the same for everything. Everything's done that way. You get 2 months free if you can pay down for the year instead of by the month, but it's up to you. So everything's doable, okay? And we have incredibly powerful systems here. So come and read this stuff, watch these videos, see what you like, see what you're interested in, and why, right? And give me a call and just say, hey, Dave, what can I do? Where can I start? Here's my budget. Or, you know, with budgets, the better your budget, the faster and better we can start, because it always costs the most in the beginning to launch something. But as we develop, it gets cheaper and cheaper to go further and further along because we're already doing it, right? So getting it going is one thing. Expanding upon that and projecting the scope outward within that strain is totally a different thing. So be honest about what your start off budget is. And if you want to make payments, that's okay. Sometimes if you're making payments, we can only do the work in pieces, but it's a question of how fast you want to go versus how much have you got to work with. But we make incredible sites. They're either going to make you rich or they're going to get you right to the edge where all you got to do is throw a couple of forum posts out there somewhere, a couple of directory listings somewhere, get a couple of citations somewhere. Google says now, and Google gives you everything because you finally filled in all the gaps that your competitors have been availing themselves of, where Google's saying, well, your competitors are listed in some of the directories. Every one of your competitors that's competing on the front pages in some directory, you need to do it too. Your competitors, they're not listed in all the same directories, so I don't care if you're listed in a directory, but they all have citations. I care that you get a few of those. You know, your name, address, phone combination on some sites. If not that, sometimes Google says, you don't need any directory, you don't need any citations, you don't need any social media links. Forum. All of your competitors have a signature, their link in their signature on their forum signature. I've never seen that. I'm just being esoteric about it. But I think you get the idea that very, very often there's like one last little thing to do that we don't do. Like if you put out a social media post, beep, you get out there. Might be the thing Google says, okay, now you filled in every little thing we wanted to see. But with us, anyway, it's 99.9% of the work done for the cheapest cost for the biggest stretch. We do the table of contents, interlinks, deep page interlinks. We do crosslinks. We do external authority links. We do previous next linkage. We do schema. Our pages are built for maximum page speed. They're on top quality, top class AWS servers. And then they serve pages locally, nationwide, so that you are close to your customers instead of across the nation from them. If that happens, we've got servers strategically placed in different places in the US so that we can have a local presence vis-a-vis so many other guys who are just hosting from one spot for the entire nation. So there's a lot going on that we do well. And so, yeah, hop into this world, see where you want to take it. Give me a call if you got any questions, because you probably don't know what you want to do yet. And some of you guys don't even have a website. You're just looking for a way to get invested, and you're wondering how to do that. Okay? So yeah, get a hold of me. Let's talk about what we can do for you.